Dallas has just been on a tear. I believe we can attribute that to Jason Robertson. Also, Jake Ottinger, who's really stepped in.
Yeah, so we can compare a rookie QB to a toddler. Hayward's absence for this game will be significant, and I wouldn't be surprised if this game turns into a blowout as of late.
The Golden Knights just can't pull it. I really think the Avalanche are determined this year.
They made so many moves and grabbed so many guys that they have to win a championship or at least make the finals. They were on our championship and bust.
The same self, the only year he won an MVP was the year he cheated, which really should put something against that MVP. But
yeah, and as a Cowboys fan, I have learned how dangerously good Aaron Rodgers has been with he can just thread a pass.
Hello, I am Ruby Ackerman, and you are listening to Outsider's Opinion with Kevin and Austin.
What's up, y'all? Welcome to our NBA Opinions of the Week. I'm Kevin, and I'm joined by the man who still has his champion, as my champion was the Nuggets, and they got knocked out, and we'll talk more about that. But the man that still has his champion alive, Austin.
I do. My champion, if you guys did not watch that video, is the Boston Celtics. But I'll start out with this. I hate my biggest pet peeve with the NBA. I don't hate it, but it's definitely something that I dislike vehemently. Is the amount of star player talk that occurs. We'll start out first with the Timberwolves Nuggets series, if you're okay with that, Kevin.
Yeah.
Anthony Edwards, after the game, was like, I had Jamal Murray in handcuffs. Ant, you shot 6 for 24, had 16 points, which was less than half of the 35 points Jamal Murray had. So not only did Jamal Murray cook you, but you also got strapped. So it's just the reason why the Timberwolves won Game 7 and ended up winning the series is more on the effect that Jaden McDaniels, who had 23 points, and Cat, who had 23 points, and some big rebounds, and obviously that putback dunk that was so massive. It's just Ant has to be the reason why. Like in the NBA, it seems like it's the only sport. I could be wrong, but it seems like it's the only sport where we, for the most part, give the win to the best player on that team. Is that a fair thing to say?
Yeah, the NBA is a very star-driven league, and that's why everyone wants to talk about the next MJ, Anthony Edwards. That's why I agree with you. I also think the main reason the Timberwolves won is I think I told you before. They were I wasn't really scared to face them from a mass perspective, but once I saw them play, that defense is just amazing. And I know they are the number one defense, but to see them play in the way they play and what they did to the Nuggets was pretty impressive. And Jaden McDaniels is a huge part of that defensively. And then the past two games, he's come on offensively, as you mentioned, his Game 6 numbers. Or Game 7 numbers.
Yeah. And Jokic severely outplayed Ant, not just in this series, but definitely in this Game 7.
Yeah,
Jokic had 34, 19, and 7 on 13 of 28 shooting, which is almost 50%. Well, again, Ant shot 6 of 24 from the field and 2 of 10 from 3. And that's okay. I'm not hating on Ant. My only problem is that Ant's talking mess after the game like he was that guy. Ant, I'm sorry. Congrats on winning. I'm extremely happy for Jaden McDaniels, Mike Conley, and Cat. And even Rudy Gobert. Like, I'm really happy for those guys. I'm happy for Ant, too. They're making a conference final for the first time since 2004. I'm happy for them. But at the same time, MJ's not shooting 6 for 24 in a Game 7 that decides your season.
Yeah, and that's why MJ's one of the greatest. And yeah, that I don't. Ant seems like very fun. I just don't like the media perception of like, oh, he's the next MJ. To me, I hate the comparison culture. I think you can say he has parts of MJ's game, but saying he's the next MJ, there will never be another MJ. But yeah, no, he's very good. But yeah, he struggled.
Another thing I want to mention is that we talk about these players in this, we hype them up to a ungodly status, but then we don't for some other players. Like, do you remember how much hating was happening to Tyrese Halliburton towards the end of the season? People were There's so many people were talking about how bad Halliburton is, how bad Halliburton that. He's making the conference finals. While Anthony Edwards is the next MJ, and he gets away with a 6 for 24 performance where his team makes it. It's just, I don't get it. I don't understand. I don't understand. That's why my favorite media wise is hockey, because hockey, it seems like whoever played well in that game is the one who's interviewing afterwards, the one that they're talking to consistently. Who did they interview after the Nuggets game? Anthony Edwards. They should have interviewed. And I was at a friend's house watching the game, and they said, well, it's because Ant has the storylines. No, he doesn't. You know who has the storylines? Karl-Anthony Towns, who had the big shot at the end of the game, the big putback dunk. He led the team in points and rebounds. He played amazing. He played very stellar defense against Jokic, and he's been with the team longer than ever. He's the Grizzly vet of the team along with Mike Conley. Like, he's the guy who's been with the team, had to go through the struggles with the Timberwolves during his entire career up to this point. That's the storyline. He finally gets over the hump. Yes, Anthony Edwards played amazing last series and had some good games this series, but that's not the best storyline. It completely is different than when the Dallas Stars make the Western Conference Final. Who do they interview? Matt Duchene. Is Duchene the best player on the Stars? No. If they want to interview the best player on the Stars, they just interview Miro after every game. But Duchene scored the goal. He had the big play at the end of the game. So they interviewed him because he made the play that won them the series. And that should have been Cat at the end of this. Cat is the one that should have got the praise, should have got the interview. That Cat played amazing. He's overcome some haters that do talk badly about his game.
That's a good point. And Cat may have denied it, but I understand your point. That could be in support, but also they could have been like, we want to talk to Ant because of the hype he's getting this playoffs, especially for some of the games he's had. But yeah, Cat was amazing. That putback dunk, I don't know how to describe, because from the way it looked, the Nuggets were in control. They had up to a 20-point lead. And I can't really describe what happened, but the Timberwolves. Okay. How would you?
Aaron Gordon ended up shooting horribly. He had 4 points. Michael Porter Jr. had 7 points on 3 of 12 shooting. The reason why the Nuggets were so good last year was guys like Bruce Brown performing in the playoffs. MPJ had some very good games and some very bad games, even last playoffs. But when you don't have a Bruce Brown guy, you need Michael Porter Jr. to be himself, and he wasn't in this game. Jamal Murray and Nikola Jokic combined for 69 points. One at 35, one at 34. No other player on the Nuggets had 10 points. That's what happened. It wasn't that Jokic didn't show up. Jokic showed up. It's not that Jamal Murray didn't show up. He showed up. It's that all the role players, from Aaron Gordon to KCP to Michael Porter Jr. to Christian Brown, miss some big shots that they have to hit. And for the Timberwolves, they can afford a blunder of a game from Anthony Edwards, where he again shoots 24 shots but only scores 16 points, because Jaden McDaniels goes off, because Rudy Gobert has a very good game, because some of the other players that aren't necessarily the top two have very good performances. And that's where this Nuggets team, if Michael Porter Jr. has a normal game and doesn't shoot 3 for 12, I think they ended up winning that game, keeping their lead and not giving it up. But credit to the Timberwolves of taking out everyone besides Jokic and Murray. Jokic and Murray had an amazing Game 7. You can't really knock a player for having 34, 19, and 7 in a Game 7. That's not you getting locked up. That's not you choking. But you can say that all the other players, again, 2 guys combined for 69 points, almost 70, and no one else scores 10. That's the name of the game.
Yeah, it's a great explanation. Thanks for that. And yeah, to the credit of that defense was just so suffocating that it hurt role players, and the players like them stepped up on the Nuggets. Like, they weren't shutting down Jokic. They did earlier on in the series, or he struggled. Then at the end, they got Jamal Murray and Jokic, but it's the role players. And we'll preview the Western Conference Finals. But yeah, it's a great story for Minnesota and what they've done, especially with the Rudy Gobert trade. When you looked at everyone clowning, I believe I clowned him too on that Rudy Gobert trade, but it seems to have really worked. for them building such a great defense. Naz Reid is also a great defender that filled in for when Cat was in foul trouble. Then Cat came in. So it's just such a great defensive roster. But I think you were talking about Halliburton. He, I think, in one game had struggled as we shift to the Eastern Conference Finals, but in the first quarter, the way he was shooting, it looked amazing, and uh, he played up in these big moments, and he came up big. And I will take my victory of Jalen Brunson not making the conference finals, but I don't really blame it on. He did struggle, but to me, it's the injuries for the Knicks is what really hampered this team.
I agree with that, and I don't think you really do victory laps because Rick Carlisle's on the other side. Because Rick Carlisle is now moving to the conference finals, and he did that without Luka, without needing the Mavs. So I do think credit needs to be given there. It was a great series. I love guys like Andrew Nembhard and TJ McConnell, the two other point guards on the team that really did step up during this series. Pascal Siakam, amazing series. Aaron Nesmith, amazing series. Like, these guys, after the first two games, really stepped up and brought the Pacers to their first conference finals in a very long time. Since, I think it's 10 years?
I believe so. Yes, 2014. The year was 2014. It may be 13-14 season.
Yeah. But it's been 10 years. Yeah. And it's been a while. And I a lot of credit to them. The Knicks, I don't blame Brunson as well. A lot of injuries happened, but the Pacers played very well, and I give a lot of credit to them. We'll have to see how they play against the Celtics. We won't go into that prediction immediately. We'll talk about the Celtics Cavs. This is another series. I think this series, even more than the next series, is injuries. Donovan Mitchell's out. The Celtics still look like one of the best teams, and they're still my title favorite.
Yeah, and I didn't really get to see much, but seeing the injuries to Donovan Mitchell, who had a great, I believe, game 2 where they tied the series, him being out, also Jared Allen helped on the glass. I will also say back to the Pacers. This is huge for a team that made a trade. Pascal Siakam at the deadline.
And if you remember, they traded for Tyrese a couple years ago.
Yes, they did in the Sabonis trade. But to me, we talked about during the deadline, okay, this doesn't make sense. Like, you got to go far. And they've made it to the Eastern Conference Finals. So that's huge that Pascal Siakam, and he was pivotal in that game, as you mentioned. And I really like the fit between Halliburton, Turner, and Siakam. And then they just need to find those other players. But the Eastern Conference Finals is a huge achievement. And I think you can feel better about that trade depending on how the Eastern Conference Finals go, because we don't know if Pascal Siakam stays, but this could help him stay given their success in the playoffs.
I completely agree. They have to play like this is their only chance. It could be a Hawks situation. The Hawks went from 2021 making it into the Eastern Conference Finals to now getting the number 1 pick. I know technically they had good odds or didn't have good odds to get that, but still, that's a crazy turnaround. So the Pacers have to play like this is it. Their one chance. And same thing with the Mavericks and same thing with the Timberwolves. You never know. It's obviously same thing with the Celtics. You never know when the last chance you're going to get with this sort of roster, with these sort of players, is going to be. And again, credit to the Pacers for having an amazing run. And I'm excited for them because, again, they're a team that doesn't usually get here. Them and the Timberwolves especially. That's why I'm happy for them. And they don't have any rings. I'd love to see a Minnesota Pacers matchup, even though obviously that would mean that the Mavs had lost. But wouldn't it be cool, Kevin, to see two teams that have never won a title play each other?
Yes, it'd be really cool to see a team win, as I kind of saw with the Rangers. I think that'd be a great storyline. I'm taking my bias out of it because the Timberwolves, there are some players that annoy me, such as like Rudy Gobert and the best big man shooter in the game or ever. But yeah, that'd be great to see that storyline of we can see the city, see their basketball, especially for Indiana too, where basketball has really originated, and Minnesota, who has had tough times recently in the past, as you mentioned, the years. But yeah, no, that'd be really fun compared to the Celtics, who've earned a lot of titles in the past, but haven't recently. But they played well. They took advantage of the injuries, and they had a nice series where they can rest up because they need that for KP. This is kind of the thing with KP is the injuries, but he can help them down the stretch, and we'll have to see that because I think we'll start previewing the series later. But
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, one thing I would like to mention here, though, is that about the Celtics, people are like, "Oh, easy run, easy run, easy run." They had 62 wins during the regular season. They deserve an easy run at the beginning. That's just how life works. And also, you cannot play anyone besides your opponents, and you're not trying to injure them. Maybe in hockey you are, like Brad Marchand said, but in basketball, I don't see people diving at people's knees. No one intentionally hurt Donovan Mitchell. So, I don't care. I don't care if the run's easy. That's not something I look at when I'm trying to say, oh, this is a title team or not. All right, credit to the Celtics for getting this far, and we'll see how far they make it. But I think we can go to the Mavs OKC series.
Yeah, and this is credit to OKC. They have some really good players. Mavs, too. I think this was a series about the role players and just the players around Luka. Kyrie struggled scoring-wise. Luka struggled scoring-wise. He's injured. But to me, it was about Derrick Jones Jr., about PJ Washington stepping up, and then you also have Derek Lively getting some key rebounds. And then you can also bring Daniel Gafford. This is about the players around Luka compared to Luka leading this team because he struggled early on. He was injured. He's still injured, but he able to find it out. And he looked better in Game 6, and I think he did the right thing. It was such a weird ending for Game 6 with the free throws. That was such a weird officiated game. So, but credit to BJ Washington. I didn't realize he was a 67% free throw shooter in his career. So he made those. And to me, it's about the defense and just around Luka. This is what won the series for them because Luka didn't have a incredible game. He had 31 points in Game 5, but I don't know what his shots look like. It seemed like Game 6 was his better game, especially with his assists and some key passes.
Yeah, you made some good points. One thing I'd like to mention is that the superstar era is over in the NBA. It's much more about the conglomerate, much more about your teammates, much more about your depth and your coaching and everything else. And that's seen by the fact that the Timberwolves beat the Nuggets. And seen by how, like you mentioned in this series, that while Shea definitely outplayed Luka in this series, Luka had better teammates around him, and they really did step up. And Derek Lively, like you said, hit some big free throws. Same with PJ Washington. There was a lot of moments where players had to step up, and they ended up doing that, and that's why the Mavs are moving on.
Yeah, and I do think Jason Kidd does deserve some credit, even though I don't really like him. I think he makes some very dumb decisions sometimes, but he has gotten this team to two Western Conference Finals, two entirely different teams, to the Western Conference Finals twice in 3 years. So credit to them, and also credit to Kyrie. You can, I wasn't a big fan, but it seems like Kyrie is being a leader for this team, helping this team, and that was a big question for me, and it seems to be working out. But let's see what they do in this Western Conference Finals. Do you want to start going to the previews?
Yeah, we can start with what you just mentioned with the Mavs.
Yeah, so the Mavs, to me, this is going to be such a tough one because I view Jaden McDaniels, and I'm sure a lot of people other do, as better than Lu Dort. And this is where you need Luka. This is where you need other players to show up, but this is where you need Luka to show up and put on his best. He's got to fight through the injuries. And to me, he's got to get to the paint. He can't settle for a three as he was struggling early on. You also need Kyrie to score. And then defensively, they're going to have to do their best. I think Derrick Jones Jr. is going to guard Anthony Edwards, and I'm very excited to see that. But to me, it's going to be about the Mavs defense and also Luka driving to the hoop. Another stat I saw was the Timberwolves are 24th in pace, and the Mavs I know have worked on getting better at pace. So I think if they can get turnovers, which the Timberwolves like to do, and run up that pace, that will help the Mavs avoid the Timberwolves getting set in their defense, because it's going to be super tough when the Timberwolves get set. But if they don't, then the Mavs can take advantage, which has been kind of a focus of this year, is the Mavs moving up in pace. And that's something where I see they can take advantage. But to me, you're going to need Luka driving to the hoop, which is going to be difficult because he's feeling the pain. But to me, if he can drive to the hoop, he can pressure on the rim protectors, and that would open up lobs because he is such a great passer. Same with Kyrie, and they're also going to have to convert. But Timberwolves don't like to give up threes, and they're very good at not giving up threes. And I believe they're the best team in not giving up twos. So that's why they're the best defense. But to me, the pace battle is going to be interesting to me because if the Mavs can avoid the Timberwolves getting set, that will be easier points.
Yeah, you make some good points. I definitely think that the Timberwolves are the favorite team here. They play better during the second.
As they should. They're the top team, so they should be the favorite.
That's true. It's going to be Ant versus Luka. I think that this is, again, I say the superstar era is over, but this is really where the teams are so well built around their stars. It's going to be up to the role players to keep their. Again, I thought the Nuggets also had the advantage, but then MPJ and Aaron Gordon had bad game 7, so it still could come down to who's second stringers and role players play better. But at the end of the day, they need Luka. They need third in MVP voting Luka. We saw why Shea was an MVP candidate. We have yet to see that in the playoffs from Luka. We need to see him be himself. And if he is this series, I think the Mavs have a great chance.
Yeah, I think the Mavs have a great chance. I think it's going to be a tough series, but yeah, I think Luka rises up to the moment. He's just got to find a way to fight through that pain, and it looked like the past 2 games he is maybe fighting through, and he looks better. That's the thing. I also think it's going to be if Maxi Kleber can come back somehow in the series. He's dealing with an AC joint. That would help with the Rudy Gobert matchup, as Maxi did shoot well threes, but if he can do that, that would help the Mavs get a big advantage and force Rudy Gobert out of the paint. But to me, it's also going to be on the guys of Derek Lively and Daniel Gafford in that matchup versus Rudy Gobert and Karl-Anthony Towns.
Yeah, you make great points. I think we can move on to the East.
I think the Pacers have a shot. The Celtics should be the favorite, and I do think they win. But if the Pacers can get on fire offensively, and I believe they were one of the best offensive teams this season, I think they can do it. The problem is with the Celtics, can they defend and force the Pacers into tough shots? Because I think the Pacers offense should do well, or the Celtics offense should do well. But if they get in a shooting match, I would kind of favor the Pacers over that, especially with KP injured.
Yeah, the Pacers have such a great offense. I do think KP returns the series. He'll be out game 1 and 2, but I do think especially if the Pacers start to win a couple games, I do think he'll be back, and that impact will be felt. It's going to come down to, can the Pacers defend? The Pacers have the offense. They have one of the best offenses in the league, so I think that they will get their shots when they need it. And considering how well they shot in the last couple games of the series, I think they could shoot very well. It's really going to come down to, can they guard? Can they stop Tatum from being a game wrecker? Same with Brown and Drew Holiday and Derek White, obviously. And there's so many great players on the Celtics that you just have to play good defense against everybody.
Yeah, that's kind of the big thing. This is really going to be tough. I think they're going to be both entertaining, very different. The Mavs and Timberwolves, I think, is going to be a bloodbath because the Mavs have really become a great defensive team. And this iteration of the Mavs have not faced the Timberwolves. All the matchups came up before the trade deadline. Luka and Kyrie didn't really play that much. They played in one game. So to me, this makes it exciting. These are basically teams getting to know each other because the PJ Washington and Daniel Gafford trade really changed the Mavs. I think that's fair to say, given how they've gotten better defensively and just what PJ offers for this team, because he was, you could argue, the best player in 3 of the wins for the Mavs. So that's something. But yeah, we'll have to see what the Pacers do. I think it's going to be exciting. And that's all I got. What do you have to add?
Yeah, I think you made some good points. I have nothing left to add, though. We'll see how these series both shake out.
Yeah, and we'll keep you updated on that. Let us know. Drop your predictions. Drop any other nuggets of information that you like. We appreciate all the comments, and thank you for listening to Outsiders Opinions.